Hi, Terry. So Dr. Barb was talking about one of the pharmacists. She thought that it was a Zoom. Is there a way if I set up a Zoom where you put her up on the screen? Or no? That's exciting, right?
Yeah, it's kind of hype now.
Are you live streaming there?
I'm live streaming now, like, because they're talking about the starting at 12 o'clock, because there's over 9 people watching.
Right.
I better switch it over to that screen, I kind of think.
So you want me to go to my office and go and get this lady, get this Zoom?
But we'll have to put the Zoom on here, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I haven't said her anything to join, but I can sign in with the. But I don't want to mess you up.
No, it's going to be not going to be easy, but I can do it.
Let me see if she can go last.
If she can go last, because she can go after this person.
Is she supposed to go first?
Do you have a program?
Oh, the kids at their backs.
What about sister had I can do the program. I'll be right back. I don't think there is. Sorry. Not that I mean, but it's
Washington.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the class of 2021's pharmacy induction. We don't get to clap for them very much, so let's give it up for the girls and us. So it's almost exactly the day that we said goodbye to you when we were leaving for the pandemic. So nothing better than to have the first comeback be the pharmacy class. So let's hear it again for the pharmacy. And thank you, parents and grandparents and friends. If you took off in the middle of the day, or you left your Zoom, or you just braved it, thinking this, I really want to do this for my daughter, and I'm gonna risk this. So, thank you. Thank you so much for being with everybody. So just a little comment about the pharmacy program. We are really grateful to have this program, and we love it because it reaches out to a span of our girls that have lots of different interests. Some girls want to practice in medicine, some just want the experience of having an internship, some actually want to actually be a pharmacist. So there's a wide array of girls that are here today, but all of them have come with the same care, compassion, and an industriousness to their study that we really appreciate. So the best congratulations I can also give to the direction of this program is Dr. McHenry. I really appreciate who she is, her education, her own familiarity in the field, her own experience, and I really appreciate all that she gives to this program. I don't usually tell this story. In fact, I think I've never told this story at the pharmacy induction, but because where we are today, it's like seeing you guys again just makes me really think about something. But this is kind of unique. So for most of you know that I'm a graduate of Seton, so my family is around here. So my mother, who has since passed, but when I first came to Seton, my mother was still alive, and I would go take care of her. She lived in near Crofton at the time. And she used to tell me all the time about this lady that was at the Keynote clinic where she would go and get her blood tested. And she would tell me about this lady, Barbara. And she loved Barbara's decorations. And I would always ask her, Mom, what were your numbers in the Keynote clinic today? Well, she couldn't tell me that, but she would say, Barbara had a new tree up and it had Halloween or it had St. Patrick's or whatever. And I would be, okay, Mom, nice to know about Barbara. So then we started the pharmacy program, and I hired Dr. McHenry. And then we had an event here one night, like a show or something, and my mom came to the show, and she saw Dr. McHenry. And she said, oh, Barbara, I was always wondering where you went. And I was like, Mom, that's my pharmacy teacher. I don't think you know. Yes, I do know her. That's Barbara from the Keynote clinic. So I had stolen Barbara from Anne Arundel's Keynote clinic to come here. And my mom for years was mourning, I don't know where she went. She just left. And it wasn't until she came to Seton that she found her again. And I had no idea I had stolen the Barbara from my mom. So thank you, Dr. McHenry, for being here. And with that, I want to turn the program over to her and let her tell you a little bit about the program and the success of the program through the years and her hopes for the girls. So Dr. McHenry, thank you.
Good morning, or good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you all so much for coming in today. When Sister and I started talking about the white coat ceremony back last fall, we normally do this in October because October is pharmacy month. So we normally try to do it when all of the profession is celebrating things. And it was pretty obvious that if we did anything, it was going to have to be virtual. So we were holding out hope against hope that if we delayed it long enough, we'd get to do it in person. And I am so grateful that we did, because you girls have had, hopefully I don't cry, you girls have had to lose so many things in your senior year that I just so much wanted this to come to fruition for you guys so that you at least had something fun to remember from this class and being able to get to do this. So thank you guys for holding out. I told you if we could do this in person, I'd find a way. So here we are, and we're going to get to do this, and it's going to look a lot different than it normally did when we would have this place filled with people, and we'd have a whole bunch of pharmacy professionals here helping you put your coat on and walking you into the profession of pharmacy. But at least we're able to do something special for you. It was funny when I was talking to the speakers over here, we were joking how fun it was to actually get dressed up. I had to dig through my closet to actually find some nice clothes. It's been so long since I've had to get dressed up. So hopefully you all have an occasion to pull out this nice outfits and bring them in today. We're in our 6th year of the program, and we started with 17 girls the first year. And this year we are going to graduate 68. So that tells you how wonderful the program is, and it continues to grow. The junior class has 71 girls in it, so that's about the max we can get without expanding more classes. But it's obviously a hugely popular program here at Seton. And I wanted to point out some major firsts this year. For the first time ever, I have 4 girls that are in this class whose sisters completed the class before them. So that's pretty amazing. So Sierra Green, if you could stand up if you're here. Sierra, are you here? Zena? Zena? Okay, her sister Ugana was in the class. Mila Smith, are you here? And her sister Michaela was in the class. And Aubrey, her sister Julia was in the class. So that's pretty amazing that all of these girls, that their sisters didn't scare them out of coming to my program. So that's pretty good. Also, even though it makes sense that we would have a lot of these, this is the largest percentage of family members that are health professionals that we've ever had. I track it every year on how many professionals, family members my girls have. And we have over 1/3 of our girls come from somebody in their family that has something to do with healthcare. Either they're physicians, pharmacists, nurses, pharmacy techs. So that's pretty amazing that these girls are carrying on a tradition and a legacy of healthcare that their families have started. So I think that's pretty amazing. And if any of you are here or in those professions, please give yourself a hand for also not scaring your daughters or family members away from going into healthcare. It's pretty amazing with COVID what healthcare professionals have had to go through, and the fact that these girls still want to pursue something in healthcare is pretty amazing. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Welcome again. I am so happy to see you all. You know me, girls, I'm a hugger, and you know this is killing me, that I can't hug you all. So virtual hugs to all of you as you get your lab coats today, and congratulations.
So we're going to go in a little different order from your program, but we are very privileged today to have a keynote speaker for our white coat ceremony. And when we try to get the speakers for this, we really try to get pharmacists that are doing very different things, because people might think, oh, there's only one thing that you do when you have a pharmacy degree. And the range of speakers that we have today will definitely prove that that's not true. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you someone who actually, I want her to tell her own story. It's a pretty magnificent story. She's our keynote. She's going to show a few slides to her presentation, and I can fill in some of the gaps for her if she doesn't tell her own story herself. And so I'd like to welcome Helen Serrani, who is with us from the American Pharmacists Association. But her journey before this profession where she is now, or this group, is amazing. So I want her to tell her own story. So Helen, thank you very much for being here. You might want to move if you want to see her slides.
I'll just signal what next so you can advance the slide. Does that work? We're good? Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me present my message to you guys today. I'm a first-generation immigrant. I'm a Crown pharmacist, and I'm delighted to be here today to inspire some of the young girls. It's really exciting to see the passion about the profession. I always tell our members, again, American Pharmacists Association is one of the biggest in the country. We serve the needs of 64,000 pharmacists in the United States. Pharmacists are the most accessible providers in the country. We are within 5 miles from every American family. So when COVID hit, we played a key role, especially with our immunization certificate training program, and that's something I've developed with our experts in the country. So we're training our pharmacists to be at the front line to immunize all the patients, with the COVID vaccine. So that's a little bit of what I do. It's a little untraditional, but I develop trainings for pharmacists in the country and kind of identify what needs need to be fulfilled, so we are on top of our practice as a pharmacist. Prior to joining APHA, I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I graduated from Northeastern, I was on top of my class, but then I wanted to do something different. There was some business that needed to be done. A business that I left undone from back home. I am originally a Kurdish refugee from Iraq, and I left not by choice, but because I was forced. America will always be home for me, but there is another home, which is Iraq, and that's where I was born. But because of war, because of tension, because of conflict, because of the way I spoke, because of the way I looked, I had to leave my country of origin. I came to US not knowing what I was getting myself into. So I was 13 years old. I was put in the wilderness. I had to learn the language from scratch. I had to teach myself the culture, people, everything. And that was not easy because at 13-year-old, as a teenager, you're developing an identity for yourself. So now add all the additional complications to that of the language, like the way people were looking at me in high school, and I didn't know how to communicate back, so you can only imagine the challenges. But that didn't stop me. I continued to fight because I had a message that I can do this. I can do this because there are opportunities in this country, especially for immigrants. This is the land of immigrants. And that's exactly what I did. I finished high school being the third in my class. I went to Agnes Scott, which is the #1 liberal arts in the country, double majored in biology and psychology, and then got accepted into Northeastern for my doctorate, and then I got my master's after that in business administration. So when I finished pharmacy school, going back to the business that has been and finished, I knew the first thing that came to mind is I knew I had to go back and finish what I left off in Iraq, and that's how I joined a group of doctors, Doctors Without Borders. I precept residents, I precept students, because I've been a pharmacist for 10 years, and I find it interesting that a lot of students reach out to me, well, I want to do what you did. And I understand their excitement, but I was at the front line. I literally had terrorists, I had fire, literally within 20 miles from where I was practicing. So I was practicing at a refugee camp. I was seeing anywhere from 100 to 200 patients a day. These are not your typical patients in the US where they come, they just want to have a follow-up, want to have a chat with you. Those were patients with trauma, patients with no hope in life, patients who were traumatic, like going through a lot of traumatic experiences in life because they left their home, because they practiced a different faith and they were not allowed to practice a different faith. So it was a different type of patients that I experienced. There were those who needed help, and then there were those who just needed some attention from me because I looked like them. I am someone who is very passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'm really excited that corporate America is finally getting attention. Diversity, systemic racism has been huge in this country, and I'm really glad that we're finally taking this topic very serious. I say this because when I was in the refugee clinic, I had providers who looked different from those refugees, and I had me who spoke the language and who looked like them, because I was one of them if America didn't give me a second chance. Those little girls would all line up to talk to me. Meanwhile, all the other doctors and pharmacists would be like, well, why are they talking to you? Why are they not talking to us? And that's because of community representation. Community representation is really huge because if the only way you can connect with your patient is the patient's those girls that I saw connected with me because there was something similar, that they could be me one day. They could be that American pharmacist that came from the US, risked her life, came back to serve the underserved. So that's why representation is really important. So today I am here to share my story. We are limited with time. I can go on and on. I'm excited to be here, and let's get started. So if you could advance the slide for me. So I want to start today with this beautiful lady. She was a daughter of my patient, Bechal, with her beautiful Kurdish features. She was a 25-year-old Kurdish woman who happened to be the only daughter of my patient. Realizes that she might not live because she was taking counterfeit chemotherapy. She was diagnosed with leukemia, and she was taking counterfeit chemotherapy because Iraq has struggled, conflict, war, and you name it, for years. So this only to show how much grateful we need to be in this country, because we have access to the best drugs, to the best healthcare. Meanwhile, someone like Bechal, who's so beautiful, 25, at the very start of her life, was at end-stage leukemia because not knowingly, all that was available to her was counterfeit chemotherapy for her leukemia. Bechal was standing in the courtyard of her house when her father told me about the investigation into the counterfeit medication that ruined her chances of being cured of this deadly disease. Just a few days after being given the medication in a government hospital, the doctors informed her that recovery within Kurdistan, where I practiced, has become impossible. The father plans to, well, this happened in the past. When I was talking to the father, he was telling me that he was planning to sell this small house that they owned in the Kurdish region of Iraq to fly Bechal to India as her last chance of getting healthcare outside the country. So why am I talking about Bechal? Because Bechal was an example of the 100 girls that I used to see when I was at the front line in Iraq. It was challenging. It was very stressful. I was in constant tears, but I felt like I was giving something back, and that was huge to me. The plan for me to go back was 1 year, but then the 1 year got extended to 2 years, 2 years got extended to 3 years, and then I called my family. I remember calling them from Iraq, and I said, I'm never coming back. I just love what I do. And I remember my mom telling me, this girl has officially lost it. So it's the power of giving. That's what took me back to Iraq, to give back, because it was something that was still left. It was not finished, and I feel like if I go back, give back to these little girls, something I was able to do. Next. So why do we have so many cases of Bechal in Iraq? This goes back to the war. Okay, no electricity, no stored water. I remember when I was a little girl, for us to get water, I would carry a bucket. I would walk to the close by river, fill my bucket with water, and come back, heat it so we could have clean water for drinking. So after years and years of war, the country has gone through a mental drain or a brain drain. What do I mean by that? All the doctors, all the professors, all the intellectuals, professionals escaped the country. The second they found a chance, they will sell all their belongings, give it to the customs, and try to find a way to escape the region. So when all the intellect is out of the country, you end up with people like Bechal. You end up with counterfeit medication because there is just no intelligence left to begin with, because everybody's escaping. They're trying to find a safe haven elsewhere, outside the country. Next, please. So the healthcare with no limits. This goes back to part of what providers do. So it was those like myself who decided to go back, and we knew we were putting ourselves in fire. We knew we were risking our safety. I went back in 2010, and I had to head back to the US in 2013 because State Department literally told me that you're a US citizen and you could be kidnapped any second by ISIS. So I absolutely had to head back, or else I was gonna stay. So this is the number of patients I used to see. I know we are all, we're all aware of our health rights. And you might, again, no system is perfect. I'm not saying US is perfect. But when you compare yourself to some of the patients I saw at the front line, you would realize how good we have it. How good we have it in this country. And you'll be just so grateful for all the opportunities we have in this region. So 150 to 200 patients, I literally sometimes had to hide the stethoscope from the patient because the patient would be like, oh, stethoscope, you get to measure my blood pressure. I haven't done that. But, and I would have loved to do it. I mean, this is basic pharmacy 101, but when you have 200 patients lining up to see you, I don't know how I could have found the bandwidth to do that. So I would like group patients and talk to them about their diet and about what needs to be done to address their chronic disease at hand. But providing care to this volume of patients was extremely challenging. No HIPAA regulations. So I would have 20 patients in the room and talking about patient privacy, right? When you have so many people in one room, I don't know how I could have personalized the therapy or the care that I wanted to for one individual when you have so many patients so eager looking at you to get the care they needed because they left their kids behind. Trauma and shame, lots and lots and lots of trauma. Why is this important? Because when you talk about trauma, you cannot exclude shame. Mental health is something that they never talked about. But I know me being as a survivor of war, I have a chronic PTSD. So I know these little girls all came with trauma. They were displaced, they were not allowed to practice what they believed in. So that is all traumatic to these little girls. But they could never seek help. They could never seek help because of the shame that came with mental health. Because if you say, I need help because I have a mental disease, it just puts you in a situation where you're technically disabled. And that is something they were not gonna allow to be tagged with, because mental health it comes with a lot of stigma, at least in that region. Of course, we have a lot of work to do in the US as well. Healthcare hesitancy, a lot of patients I saw, my mother included, she's also a first-generation immigrant and she's been living in the US for close to 30 years now. She still has a lot of hesitancy. And why this is important, because when you graduate as a pharmacist and you're practicing in every community, you will have patients from the underserved. And we're talking about vaccine hesitancy now from the patients of the underserved communities. They have other beliefs, they have other understandings when it comes to healthcare. So there's a lot of hesitancy to what the provider tells them. The only way you can overcome hesitancy is when you understand where that patient is coming from. And this goes back to the community representation. When that provider looks like me, when that provider speaks my language, when that provider knows my culture, I better trust that provider. So that's why it's important for us to have members of healthcare that practice in communities where they belong, because that's how patients can overcome healthcare hesitancy. And then last but not least is community representation. It's so important for me to see diversity in this room, because I can't emphasize the importance of that. You as future healthcare provider, as future pharmacist, I see hope. I see hope because there are many patients from the underserved who could relate to us because because of the assimilation that they can, like the similarity they can see in their provider because of their background. Next, please. So I talked about the volume of patients. I talked about the type of care that they needed. I talked about the challenges. There are those who needed care, but there are also those who needed just my attention. And this little girl, actually, she would come with her mother and she would do hide and seek just to get my attention. And it wasn't just her, it was like a group of them. And every day after many long hours in the camp, after I would finish, I would just go and hang out with them. And you can't imagine how much of a difference I would make to their day. Someone who's like an American in a white coat that speaks my language, who's like spending time with me, it just made a huge difference. I talk about power of touch a lot, and that's an issue we have in the US because we've come, especially with COVID-19 and us being in lockdown, virtual care is really, really challenging. I am a huge advocate of touch. Sometimes if you just touch the head of your patient, look them in the eye and say, I am here for you, what can I do? That itself could make a huge difference. But when you are a provider and you're just, as soon as you walk in, you instead of facing your patient, giving a deep look at your patient, touching their hand, giving them that assurance, what do providers do? They automatically jump on the computer and start, accessing the patient profile. That is not a belonging that I'm talking about. That's not the power of touch I'm talking about. A lot of time, you can collect a lot of data from the patient's status just by looking at them, just by touching their hand and getting the story from them instead of accessing the data from the computer. And that is something I found to be really, really powerful, because in a third world country with refugees, we didn't have EMR, we didn't have any electronic data. It was more of like one-on-one with the patient and hearing their story. Next, please. So with that, pharmacists as healthcare provider, I want to close my message is that pharmacists are not limited to community. Community pharmacists are my heroes, especially in a pandemic. If it wasn't for community pharmacists, I don't know how we could have addressed this pandemic by vaccinating the citizens in this country. But what I'm here to say is there's so much you could do with pharmacy. My example is a little extreme. I'm not trying to tell you pack your stuff as soon as you graduate from pharmacy school and go overseas and put yourself at the front line. But that's something I did, and that's because I found power in that. You could do so much, especially with this whole innovation with the healthcare system. Pharmacists have a value. You can make a point. You can help patients achieve their goals of disease management. And a lot of doctors are struggling with that. We tend to forget that doctors only have 1 year of understanding of medications. Meanwhile, we pharmacists are the drug experts. So how can you make a business case for yourself to the doctor? Hey, if you invest in my skill sets, I am gonna help all your patients achieve their chronic disease goals. And that's something that I try to push the residents and the students to do after they're done from their training as well as pharmacy school. So with that, these are just some pictures from my world travel. I usually try to go to austere environments like this picture. Some pictures are from Myanmar, Jenin camp in Palestine, Kurdish region of Iraq, mostly refugee kids that I've actually met in my journey. And I just come back really, really fulfilled once I have that one-on-one encounter with patients and locals. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share part of my story. I really appreciate it. And I will be around if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, very much, and I hope you won't be a stranger to our program. Once we get back in school, I hope you'll come to the pharmacy program a lot and see our girls. A big part of our program is our internships. In fact, you can't complete the program successfully and earn what you want to earn without the internship program. I can't say how blessed we are to be doing this in the DMV, because if we lived in a remote place, we wouldn't even have 66 pharmacies that would take our girls for internships. And we have great pharmacies here in stores and grocery stores and standalone community pharmacies and private pharmacies. Our next speaker is committed to the work of private pharmacies and drug chains and everything that we know, Walgreens, CVS. She's committed her practice to making sure that these trained pharmacies are the best and that we all feel safe using them. So I'd like to introduce to you Christy Boute, who will speak to us also. Thank you, Christy.
Hello, everyone. I have to say that today is the first day I'm meeting Helen, and she took half of my speech. I never saw her before, never talked to her before, but NACDS, which is the National Association of Chain Drugstores, works very closely with APHA. We represent supermarkets, drugstores, all that have pharmacies, and there are over 40,000 pharmacies in the United States. And as Helen said, these pharmacies, 90% of Americans live within 5 miles of a pharmacy. Okay, so when you think about your pharmacy, you think about someone you know, someone you trust, and someone who is trained. I am emotional standing up here because as I look at all you young ladies, it is extremely thrilling and exciting to me. I am a product of a Catholic, all-girl, all-black high school. I'm from New Orleans, and to see you all here, devoted and focused, means so much to me. I cannot express to you how excited I am to be here. In addition to the fact that that young lady over there, that 11-year-old little girl, her eyes are on me too. So that makes me a little bit nervous. But aside from the nervousness, I wanted to make sure that I come here today and tell you the importance of pharmacy technicians and the role that you play in healthcare. I'm a pharmacist also. I've worked for Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS, Walmart. I've done it all. But every day, I get to fight. I get to fight for the profession. I get to fight for what it means to be a pharmacist. I get to fight for expanding the scope of pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. This is an exciting time to be in pharmacy. Pharmacy is at the center of the nation's vaccine experience right now. Pharmacies can provide 100 million vaccines in 30 days, if the supply is there, and you all can help. Pharmacy technicians have the ability right now to do COVID testing. You have the ability to do vaccines, and all of that is temporary. But every day, I get to fight with all of my colleagues to make that permanent across the United States. So as you leave here today, as you get that white coat, it's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage to being a member of a trusted healthcare team. 1995, when I was a pharmacy technician, it was my first job. I'm gonna age myself a little bit. It was before I started pharmacy school. I functioned mainly as a cashier. It was at a time when computer systems couldn't give me co-pays, so I had little cards in my pocket to tell Medicaid patients how much their copay was. It didn't give me that information. It didn't have much opportunity to count prescriptions or interact with patients. I got their prescriptions from the bin, verified the personal information, rung them up, and let them go. By the year 2000, when I was graduating from pharmacy school, technicians were beginning to be certified. They needed continuing education. They were taking prescriptions and processing them. And that was when, as a pharmacist, I was able to really value the technicians that worked for me. I didn't use them, I didn't abuse them, and I didn't make them waste their time with putting drugs on the shelf. I did that. I put the stock away. I gave them the opportunity to flourish. I gave them the opportunity to learn. If they made a mistake, I let them figure out what it was before I let it go out. I let them experience me consulting patients, explaining to patients what it was for me to take their medications correctly. These are the things that you all were doing. Now, technicians, this is a transformation of what it means to be a pharmacy technician. COVID, in all of its ugliness, has provided a pivotal moment for you to come out of high school, be a certified technician, give immunizations, do testing, interact, talk with physicians, and do more than I ever did in 1995. Would I ever go back to being a pharmacist? I'm not gonna lie to you, no. But every day that I can go into that office and I can talk to legislators across the United States and continue to fight for expansion of the scope of practice of pharmacists and technicians, I will. I want you all to know that it takes a special person to be a pharmacist and a pharmacist technician. You come into contact with a lot of people, a lot of sick people, a lot of people who have concerns, a lot of people who are scared. But it is those people who trust the people in the pharmacy, the pharmacist and the technician, who rely on you to guide them, to talk to them, to help them leave that store before they go home and take their own health care in their own hands. Pharmacists are most often the first person that a patient sees when they need help because they're readily accessible. They don't need appointments, and you will be there to help. So whether your path is going to lead you to be a pharmacist and going to pharmacy school, a doctor, a nurse, whatever it is, know that this is the first step of being a very key part to the healthcare team. Again, I'm emotional. Thank you. It is a joy to be here. I have to say thank you to Barb. Barb responded to a random email that I sent asking about partnering with NACDS on diversity. How can NACDS help? How can NACDS be there? And this has flourished into a relationship that I hope I will be here many years to see many more girls come out of Elizabeth C. I don't know which school she's gonna go to. I don't know. I'm gonna let her pick. But either way, I'm committed to being here. I'm committed to this program. And if I can get NACDS members to open up and provide more rotation sites, I will do that. Thank all of you. Congratulations, and be very excited and very proud of yourselves. Thank you.
Christy, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. And thank you for what you do every day to make it possible for our world. And thank you for bringing your daughter. She's a ray of hope for us too. Our last speaker is a partner of ours, and she is the professor and director of the College of Pharmacy at Howard University. She's going to come to us by Zoom, so hopefully, if we look on the screen, we'll meet Dr. Ronti Aquilio. Good afternoon, Doctor. Now we got to get some sound here. Hold up a second.
Sorry. Give me 1 second, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. everyone can hear me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to speak to you today during this White Coat ceremony. Congratulations to everyone graduating from the Pharmacy Technician program today. You should be proud of yourself and your accomplishments. And I am so thrilled and pleased that you are completing this program before high school graduation. Do you know what this says about you? It demonstrates that you are driven, you are focused, you're committed on the path for career success. I hope you know that this is uncommon, as most individuals engage in the pharmacy technician program after high school or after college, such as myself. My first exposure to pharmacy was by working as a pharmacy technician in Jackson, Mississippi, so many moons ago, while I was a college student. It was during college that I decided to pursue pharmacy as a profession instead of medicine, and I do not regret the decision at all. After earning my Bachelor of Chemistry degree from Jackson State University, I immediately started my pharmacy education at University of Mississippi. Upon completion of my Doctor of Pharmacy degree, I completed a one-year community pharmacy residency program where I engaged in clinical pharmacy practice, research, and teaching students at Shenandoah University. It was my experience during this program that awakened my desire to pursue a career in higher education as a faculty at a pharmacy school. This passion led me to join faculty at Howard University College of Pharmacy almost 20 years ago now. My clinical role at Howard University included me being the founding pharmacist at the Howard University Hospital Diabetes Treatment Center, where I provided medication therapy management to patients with diabetes in collaboration with clinical endocrinologists. Now, looking back over my career and my decision to choose pharmacy, I am so glad and I have no regrets. I feel that pharmacy is a well-kept secret. I did not know anything about the profession when I was in high school. I had to conduct my own exploration in college myself to learn about it. So as you see, you all are way ahead. Even with my exploration, what I did not know, and what many people do not know, is that being a pharmacist creates a plethora of opportunities for a person. What opportunities, you may ask? I did not know that pharmacists are able to engage beyond working at CVS or Walgreens or hospitals in clinical work. I didn't realize that pharmacists can work in ambulatory care clinics and manage chronic conditions like diabetes and asthma and hypertension, or work as specialists in cardiology, infectious disease, emergency room, oncology, psychiatry, veterinary, geriatrics, pediatrics, and so on. In addition, pharmacists who work with the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, that regulates all drugs in America, work at pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson that have produced the currently available COVID-19 vaccines. I assure you that this is not the full list of what pharmacists can do, because pharmacists can also own their own pharmacies if business ownership is of interest. Therefore, I applaud each of you for your achievements so early by completing this pharmacy technician program. I do have a charge for you not to stop here. Finish what you have started and pursue this highly rewarding health profession career, pharmacy. This profession will enable you to serve others, care for others, educate others, contribute to the well-being of many in our community, especially our vulnerable populations. Due to the current pandemic, the profession of pharmacy has been recognized more widely nationally as the federal government has been in partnership with community pharmacists to vaccinate our community. Why? Because pharmacists are the most accessible health professionals and they are trained to vaccinate. During this pandemic, pharmacists are in the front line as contributing health professionals to the eradication of COVID-19, both with testing and vaccination. As a result, there has been a demand for pharmacy technicians, pharmacy students, and pharmacists to vaccinate the public, thus creating employment opportunities and reshaping the role of pharmacy profession nationally. So I want to tell you, the future is bright for the pharmacy profession. This future includes more integration of technology, expansion of the pharmacist's role to do more clinical work, and collaboration with other health professions. So I'd like to congratulate each of you again and hope that you will continue on the path that you have started in pharmacy, and wishing you all the best and success in your future endeavors. Congratulations again. Thank you.
So ladies, I apologize to you that we don't have the manifold pharmacists here that are able to clothe you in your white coat, because that's a good feeling when a pharmacist clothes you with that white coat. Today we're going to do it a little differently because of COVID. We'll call your name and Dr. McHenry will help you find your coat. If your parent wants to clothe you or if you invited someone to clothe you, that's perfectly all right. And I just hope that you have felt the passion of these three ladies that have joined us today. The passion for the profession and the passion for each of you. They can't put your coat on you, but I think they have definitely shown you that they are very, very proud of you and that they're committed to the same profession that we celebrate today. So when your name is called, please join us. We'd like to recognize you completely. Ashley Abraham.
All right, go ahead.
And Ashley, if you just, after you get your coat, look up at Erica, because she's taking the pictures from afar. We definitely want a picture of you and your mom. And we'll send it to you so you have it too. Okay? So take your time, you deserve this moment. Yusra Abu. Erica, Yusra, hold up and get a picture, please. And her dad is here. Come on, Dad, get in the picture. And Mom's here. There we go. Come on, we'll send you the pictures. Don't worry about that camera. We want you. Yeah. All right. Thank you all very much. Victoria Anderson. Congratulations, Victoria. Hawa Berry. Aww. Aww. Alexandria Bing. Tallulah Blackman. Skylar Blue. Nadia Brown. Congratulations. Trinity Brown. Trinity Brown. Taylor Bird. Isabella Shabla. Alexis Christian. That's okay, take your time. We don't get to do the networking, so you earned this. You don't have to rush around. Ashanti Craig. Courtney Crawford. Maya Dixon. Rain Edwards. Caitlin Flowers. Amani Francis. Grace Galat. Sierra Green. Sydney Green. Daya Hansford. Nevaeh Holloway. Alexander Ingram. Maya Johnson. Rachel Jones. Shalaya Jones. Tia Joseph. Nana Kita, Kamara Kelly, Rain Kirksey Walcott, Micaiah Lee, Beatrix Lippincott, Sierra Maddox, Savannah Marshall, Tess Martin, Barbara Martinez Escalera, Krista Matthew, Zakiah McMillan, Kyla McSwain, Sierra Moorhead, Ariana Nasser. Sister Lynn Rothford. Chiamaka Odidika. Malin Perdomo. Alicia Person. Amira Reagan. Pamela Romero. Rachel Rutherford. Isa Santiago. Miriam Santiago. Sajay Sasker. Sloan Simmons. Mara Simonis. Lindsay Smith. Marla Smith. Raquel Stevenson. Skylar Ray Tamaj. Skylar, apologize for the program. We will fix that. Daryl Tucker. Anaya Wade. Christina Wade.
That was part of the problem.
Taylor Wallace. Aria Watson. Promise Woods. Candace Young. Aubrey Sarega. And Dr. McHenry, could you come to Danae Williams? No, I didn't. Danae just came out from finding out she tore her ACL and rushed here this morning, so I did not want to make her walk across the stage. Congratulations, Danae. In closing, I just want to thank all our speakers. They were tremendous speakers. I think some of the best we've had at the pharmacy. don't really have the time to network because of COVID, but I'm sure if you want to stay 6 feet apart and speak to somebody, they'll try to accommodate that. And then after we get a chance to say goodbye to our speakers, if you guys want to try to get on the stage and spread out a little bit and take a group shot, I think that'd be okay. So thank you all very, very much. There's a big treat for you. Usually we have a reception, but Dr. Barr makes the most unique pharmaceutical cookies in the world. So make sure you pick up, and they're handmade, hand decorated with love from Dr. Barr.